Hey, what is up, everybody? Hope everybody had a good 3-day weekend. If you had a 3-day weekend, I know a lot of people don't. But hopefully you got some stuff done, had some fun, spent some good quality time with people, and most importantly, kept the right people in your thoughts throughout the weekend, and especially on Monday. So, yeah, there's a little bit of a SHTF thing that kind of triggered some thoughts in my head that I wanted to talk about today. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Hey, what is up, everybody? Thanks for checking out this video. Any support for the channel is awesome. And I turned on the TV as soon as I woke up today, flipped it over to BBC. Nobody else was really talking about anything. And yeah, you've probably heard there was a guy that rammed a crowd in Liverpool, England. And yeah, it's probably not going to be looking too good for him. They really specified his race, being a white male, because racism is a huge issue over there. So they're going for the prosecution just in the headline. It's definitely an attack on that person, as well as it was an attack on the civilians of Liverpool. So this just kind of got me concerned. If you haven't heard about it, there was a guy that was going somewhere, driving a minivan, and ended up getting into a situation in a crowd. He was not being aggressive. He was not really seeming to do anything but just wanting to go where he wants to go. He should have that right. Well, I guess there were a whole bunch of football fans taking over the streets, and he got blockaded in by about 1,000 people. They started harassing him, started breaking his windows, started putting him in a threatening situation, and possibly for his life. Definitely, if it was here in the United States, let's just say outside of St. Louis, you're going to fear for your life in that situation. No government there to help him, no emergency personnel to help him, no police to help him, no security to help him, and no civilians to help him. He was completely on his own in a vulnerable situation, and he took care of it. Now, what's going to happen? Well, he's probably going to be prosecuted for attempted murder to the highest extent, or whatever the charges are going to be. He is arrested. He is sitting in jail right now, and he is probably not going to be getting out for a long time. Why? Because he feared for his safety, and he did something about it because the government did not. That kind of gets me thinking there's a lot of situations that could happen. And it's just kind of proof that, well, when something does happen, the government's not going to be there for you. And we have an issue with this. We have an issue with this with the United States, and I'll talk about the United States for a little bit. Just look back in Biden, last year of Biden, the BLM rallies, the unrest that the right, that conservatives were threatening, that they were getting ready for. There was a lot of stuff. We were talking about Civil War. We've been talking about World War III. We've been talking about a lot of this stuff to be an uprising, to make changes, to stand up for our rights, to stand up for our own well-being and safety, stand up for our religions, stand up for our beliefs. And it got to the point where we had to start fighting, literally fighting for it. Shouldn't have to do that. But that's the way it is right now. And it's mostly because people are being shut down. Whatever the political incentive is for the month, you know, it's shutting somebody down. It's doing something to somebody. It's just a matter of time. Nah, you gotta hang on one sec. All right, had to close the garage door down. I hate interruptions like that. Now I've all lost my track on where I was. Yeah, well, anyway. People get pissed off is basically what it boils down to. Now, when you start holding people down, there's going to be a revolt. There's going to be people that say enough's enough. Now, whether it's the economy, whether it's geopolitical issues, war, or the government, or these bills that are being passed, or immigration, the economy, you name it, there's a lot of things that hold us down. Now, a lot of people say the middle class is done. The middle class doesn't exist anymore, and I've always fought that. The middle class is pretty big. You look at the subdivisions, you look at how people are, they've all got $100,000 pickup trucks and SUVs and, $80,000, whatever. We're doing okay. We're doing okay as the middle class. Seems like the lower class has been kind of stagnant and the middle class has been kind of stagnant. So I haven't really thought the middle class is disappearing. Until I started thinking about what happened to the upper class, what happened to the haves when I'm the have-not. They have taken off. This whole country, the corporate part of the country, the capitalistic part of the country, is something that we don't really know about. We don't learn about, we're not told about. But you know how many billionaires are in the United States? It's staggering. It used to be if you were a millionaire, man, you were rich. You were living the high life in a mansion in Beverly Hills and all this stuff. Now $1 million, you can't even retire. That's kind of an issue. And yeah, that's where the middle class is dropping out. Because not a lot has changed. We have been making more money as the middle class, but we have not been keeping up. We've been suppressed. Now, when's the point when the middle class says, well, we need some of this too? When's it going to be when the lower class and the poverty and below poverty step up and say, we've been screwed? You're going to have issues. You're going to have a lot of issues. Now, and that's all part of the system. That's all part, not of the system, that's part of the cycle of the country. That's part of the cycle of a falling empire, if you will, and the decrease of a country as the world leaders. This happens. This is happening now. So it isn't to the extent of a civil war, but there's a lot of tension brewing. And it doesn't only go to the civilians of the United States. Look at Europe. I highly recommend paying attention to what goes on in England. There's a lot of things that seem to be like a proving ground for the United States that are going on there. But all hell's kind of breaking loose as far as being a civilian of the UK or any of these cities around England or a lot of Europe. But mostly I kind of focus in on England, the UK, and what they're doing there because it's pretty freaking crazy. They've even tried to step over the pond and prosecute people in the US, for doing things that they don't like. And screw them. I don't care. We said screw them 250 years ago. We can say screw them now. But they're being held down. Their rights and freedoms are being held down. And they're starting to stand up. They've had a lot of uprisings, from the farmer spraying manure on the Capitol buildings and the government buildings and stuff like that, to just people standing up in the streets, burning cars, invading houses, doing all this stuff that the police can't do anything about. They eventually ended up calming all that stuff down, but hey, just in time for something else to pop up. And it's always something over there. And it's just a matter of time before that kind of thing comes to the United States. And I think once it comes to the United States, it's going to be big because we've been bottling a lot of stuff up for a very long time. There's a lot of people that are ticked off with the politics, ticked off with the government, ticked off with the way things are. And for now, we're just sucking it up. We're just taking it with a smile on our face, because what can we do? The top incomes of the country have just left us behind. No decisions are made in the benefit or in the mind of lower class and middle class. I don't care who is out there saying that we care about the middle class. They don't give a shit. They are running a country. They're running a business of a country. It's all basically business. And the economy is the main driver of it. The economy is the weapon of it. The economy is the soul of it, the body of it, everything. It's all about economy. And for America, that would be capitalism. We don't do a lot as the middle class and the lower class for the economy. Yes, we produce. Yes, we pay the taxes, but we're not making the money. So we're not the decision makers. It's the upper class. So when's it going to be when people stand up? That's kind of what I'm getting at. I'm starting to ramble. This can go international. Yes, I was talking about the UK, but look at North Korea, Russia. Russia is a good example because it's been in the news lately, but North Korea is a better example. These countries have been held down. These countries have been not allowed to do many of the things that they want to do because of the wealthy people in the United States. Now, just look at Ukraine and Russia and that whole conflict that's going on there. They're kind of getting a little upset. You know, it's like the United States is trying to organize it, and China. And China's on the socialist, communist side, and we're on the capitalistic U.S. economy side of it, the West. But I've brought this up before that we've been backing Putin into a corner for a very long time. He's been playing very nicely. Same with North Korea and the Middle East and stuff like this. Maybe not so much the Middle East, but they can absolutely do a lot of damage. That threat of people saying, I'm sick of it, is very much still here in the U.S. It's still in the world. For Vladimir Putin, you know, he's going to say screw it one day. Probably throw some tactical nukes into Kyiv or attack NATO. You know, I don't know. But there's been many red lines to say enough is enough. And bad things happen when enough is enough. Now, it's kind of, I brought up the Middle East. It is, but it isn't. The thing with the Middle East, China is working with the Middle East a lot. Between the population of China and the population of India, just those two countries alone, they can do a lot of damage. They have a lot of people that can do a lot of damage. You just put them on a boat, put them on a plane. Power in numbers, you know? I mean, that's kind of dangerous territory, and everybody's kind of sick of the U.S. Just as the U.S. civilians and citizens of this country are kind of sick of the U.S., and it doesn't matter if you are LGBTQ, you know, trans, fighting for rights, whatever it is, everybody's fighting for something right now. And eventually they're going to realize where the problem lies. And it's not in left versus right, gay versus straight, black versus white. It's against the people and the country, civilians in the government. I think people that pay attention to it know that's where the problem is. It's starting to come out a little bit more recently, but I don't think people honestly truly realize it. And once they do, I think there's going to be some major issues. Now, we have had issues like the BLM rallies and the BLM movement, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, there has definitely been a standing up against the government that is hitting police officers. The regulations and stronghold against police officers is pretty incredible. It's lightened up a little bit, but yeah, they made a little bit of a difference, and they know it. And people watch it, and people on the right watch it, and people around the world watch it. They know how our government reacts, which is cowarding down. People are going to kind of realize this when they have an issue that they really want to stand up for as the rights of this country, as what we are allowed to do, be, say, live, choose. We have that right, and they're kind of suppressing us. Now, this could go into, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of different situations where there can be a standing up, where there can be a trigger moment that kind of gets people thinking. You only have to get one person thinking that gets two people thinking. Next thing you know, you got 50 million people thinking about it with the help of media, social media, Twitter, all these different ways that can instantly get information out there and start changing minds. Then it just takes one person to step up and say, you know what, I'm done, screw it, I don't care. Hit that spark, get the spark flying in a powder keg. And now you got a major issue. So right now, everything is kind of shifted. You know, I saw this thing in Liverpool today, and the guy, said, screw it. I'm fearing for my life. I am fearing for my safety, and I got to do something about it because the government's not here. We're going to get that in the U.S. Like I said in the past, I think the UK is a proving ground for stuff that they're going to be doing here. And the UK is completely out of control. If you don't just absolutely love illegal terrorists coming into your country, you're a criminal. Not the terrorists, you are the criminal. And they've kind of tried to touch on this in the US, and they had to backpedal a little bit because we're not putting up with that shit. But it's still going on in the UK, and once they try to do this again here, and I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, left, right, black, white, it doesn't matter. None of it matters. And I've said this the whole time. I mean, all that's going to get thrown out the window. Our differences are going to get thrown out the window when we all have a common enemy, when we all have the same purpose and movement to get things done. None of that is going to matter. And, like the last couple years with Biden, it's like there was a big movement. Right now, you're probably not hearing about it because your algorithm and all that is only letting you see certain things. But there's a little bit of that movement going on right now on the left against the right. We're all trying to do the same thing. We're all pissed off and upset about what's going on in this country. It doesn't matter if you look at it in a humanitarian way or in economically strengthening, how can I say it? An economic way, a capitalistic way, or a socialist humanitarian way. We're all going to the same point. We just have different ways of getting there, which we highly disagree with each other on. I try not to disagree too much with a lot of the stuff that the left does. I'm not going to say I agree with everything. I'm not going to say I'm liberal or anything like that, but they're doing the same thing. And they can rise up and they can do some damage. Now, talking about algorithms and social media and stuff like that, we're not going to see it unless you go search it out. We aren't going to see anything on the left except for some 20-something-year-old or a teenager screaming and crying, some dude in pantyhose that he doesn't have a good enough life. That's what we see, the craziness. They see, or they give us what we want to see. And that goes both ways. That goes with everything in media. But I guarantee you there is community in the liberals, in the Democrats. There are some badass mofos. There are military trained. There are MMA fighters. There are very formidable opponents that can handle an AK-47, an AR-15, military weapons and stuff like that. The algorithm's not going to let you know that. They're not going to make you think that. But there can be an uprising in Trump's term that could be dangerous, could be worrisome. Now, we're not out of the weeds. We are not out of the problems. Nothing has changed. It's just a whole bunch of fluff, half sentences, and weird nicknames for things in our government and our politics right now. It's all kind of a joke. Not a whole lot is getting done at face value that we can see. Yeah, there's things getting done. I agree with a lot of the things that are going on with Trump and stuff like that, but there's a lot of things that I don't agree with. In fact, there's a lot more that I don't agree with that's going on then I agree with. You know, like for instance, trying to push through the Hearing Act, you know, to be able to legalize flash suppressors for weapons and stuff like that. That should be done. It's not even a weapon, it's an accessory. You know, that's a whole other video, but I like that. I like that. That's something that needs done. That's something that we should have. In fact, they should deregulate almost everything, in my opinion. We shouldn't have to pay taxes or stamps or anything like that to own any way to defend ourselves. But same with the left. Right now, there are things that are going on that a lot of Democrats like, but mostly there's things that they don't like. When Biden was in office, there was a lot of things that both people liked and both people didn't like. So it's just going to have to get to the point of saying enough is enough. And if you look outside of the American bubble, if you look outside of the American media and start looking at these different things, like for instance, I really go into England and the UK, you start to see the potential for an uprising, you start to see the potential for civil war and stuff like that. So think about that. Think about that. The same thing can happen with Russia. I brought it up and got sidetracked, but with Russia and stuff like that, they're going to say screw it one day. They're going to have that time to where they say enough is enough, and you don't have a civil war, you got a world war. So keep prepping, keep things in mind, keep situational awareness around, keep an eye out for things, and yeah, be safe out there. So, all right, yeah, I will leave it with that. I will talk to you guys next time, and until then, peace.